Hello, everyone. Today, I would like to talk about design thinking, very briefly in a nutshell. My name is Chihiro Sato, and I am from Keio University, Graduate School of Media Design in Japan. Let me first quickly introduce myself. I'm a senior assistant professor at Keio University in Japan, and I was also a visiting lecturer at King's College London, DDH, last year. My research domains are in service design, consumer behavior, retailing, behavior economics, urban design, and yes, design thinking, which I will be talking to you about today. I do have a lab. If you're interested, you can please check out my lab page if you're very much interested. And by the way, my PhD in media design was, the topic was about retail architecture and technology that can enhance shopping behavior in physical spaces, for example, shopping malls, from a cyber physical perspective. Okay, so let's get on to the topic. What exactly is design thinking? So design thinking generally has a couple of concepts. One of them is very important, is doing observation and ideation. And then you go on to the build to think process. And last but not least, collaboration. So you would actually need to go out to the field and do some ethnography research, set personas and goals. And you would have to keep iterating. You have to keep doing that process of creating and testing over and over again. And last but not least, collaboration. Collaboration means you're actually not working by yourself. You're collaborating amongst different disciplines or domains, different types of people, gender, anything kind of diverse collaboration. So these are the basic fundamentals for design thinking. And let me first introduce to you a firm that actually does design thinking, which is, I'm sure you've probably heard about this firm, P&G. So one of their products that they created is called Swiffer. This was like 15 years ago, I'd say, but Swiffer was created from P&G's innovation process that uses design thinking. So then Swiffer, I don't know how many of you have heard about this, but it's a sweeper that uses static electricity instead of water. It's very easy to handle and it's easy for storing. Back then, sweeping required water. If you remember those days or if you were born, I'm not sure. But this concept of mopping without a water, using water, actually derived from observing customers' daily livings in depth. So this strategy was built upon CEO back then, Alan Lafley. So he wanted to change the firm's strategy from a technology development perspective towards a customer driven perspective. So then how to do this is actually quite simple if you think about it. You do it from observation to the market. So then if you're P&G is a consumer goods firm, which means you need to know how the consumers are using your items, right? So then you would actually, those that are developing would have to go out and observe how the people are actually cleaning their own houses. Now, if you really think about it, you would think about the scene that they're actually doing the cleaning, of course, right? But then, like, if you, which was really interesting about them was that they actually started by changing their outfit for cleaning because they don't want to get dirty, right? And then they put soap in the water in the bucket, and then they soaked the mop with water and squeezed it. And then they mop the floor. Finally, they get to do the cleaning. This is when they actually comes to cleaning, right? And then they take off the trash from the mop. Okay, so as I've said, there's just so many steps until you actually come to the scene of cleaning, right? So it's just too complex and there's just too many scenes. which is actually, it's quite some effort if you think about it, if you're doing this every day, it's actually tough. So then this sweeper, the Swiffer, is one example of the P&G's method of product development, which uses design thinking. So all of this process went through within the 18 months that they've used for this project. So they started with field observation, like we said. They observed how people are cleaning their houses. And then they went on to the concept making, which is to clean it fast, which is very important. You need to do it fast and you need to do it clean. So then how can they do it is the other question. So then they started prototyping, like what would work and what would not work. And they did this process over and over again. And then they came up with this product of Swiffer, and then they put it out to the market. If you're more interested in this process in general, you can read Lofrey's books, The Game Changer or Playing to Win. Not only did this strategy contribute to designing products, it actually contributed to the sales increase, which is very important, if you're a firm. Starting from looking from 2000 to 2008, you can see how the sales amount actually kind of doubled by using this strategy, which is a lot if you think about it. And so designing products starting from observation is effective. Okay, so this was P&G, and they're giants. So, you can see how they can actually deal with this. But then, how do others do design thinking is the other question. We're not giants. We can't do that, maybe. But, if you think about it, there are other firms that do it too. One of the very famous design firms in the US is IDEO. They've been around for probably 2 or 3 decades now. So their design thinking process in the earlier days is actually quite very simple and very well known. So this is a case study from the year 2000. It's been 2 decades for sure. So then they've designed a shopping cart through the observation, prototyping, and collaboration. So then first they started by observing how shopping works by actually going to the supermarket and chasing after the customers and seeing how they actually pick up the products. And then they went on to ideating upon the perspectives that they've got seen, the insights that they have received, and then the actions or elements that were seen in the field. And then they prototyped a real scale shopping cart in a very short period of time, which was this was only 5 days when you start from here to there. So, you can actually do it quite fast. Just to make a prototype. And if you want to read more about this, there's the book Art of Innovation. And also, this is actually, there's a YouTube video. It's like a 10-minute video that can show you how this process actually worked in details. So you can watch the YouTube video if you're interested. Tim Brown, one of their board members, wrote an essay, an article, maybe I should say, on design thinking for the Harvard Business Review in 2008. So back then, they coined their process of design thinking in this cycle that starts from inspiration, and then they go on to ideation, and then they go on to implementation. And then you actually kind of go back. It's not like a linear process. You have to keep going back and forth. So then first you start with your own perspective. Where are the opportunities? What's the issue that you want to tackle? Where's the business problem? What can we change? And then you actually kind of go out to the field and observe what the people actually do. Like if you think about P&G's case, observing how the people clean their houses, right? And then you come back and analyze your insights. and share within your team. So remember, this is where also collaboration works. Your perspective can be shared with other people's perspectives. And then, like, if you share their insights, you start thinking about what can new technologies or what kind of new ways can we help them. So then we start brainstorming, thinking about various crazy ideas. You don't really have to think about how this can be actually created at this very moment, but then you try making scenarios if it works or not. And then you start actually creating and actually realizing your ideas. And then you prototype and test and prototype and test. You do this over and over again. This is where the iteration comes. And if you have some kind of a minimum viable product that can probably convey, you can start bringing those prototypes to your potential or your target users and get their feedback. And then you kind of go back and forth once again. And that requires a lot of work, yes, of course, but it's step by step. You keep going back and forth until you keep refining. Now, speaking of the UK, you probably might be more familiar with the double diamond process, I'm quite sure, which is very similar. I mean, in essence, it's very much the same. So Design Council's Double Diamond actually came out in 2004, and this right here is the 2019 version. So then you start with a challenge, which is what is the design, what is it that you want to tackle? And then you start discovering the field, which you go out for observation or you do some research and discover. And then you define what is it that you would actually want to tackle and how you see the design opportunity. And then you would start developing ideas on how what kind of ideas or what kind of approaches would be eligible to tackle that design opportunity that you have identified. And then you would have to deliver what you have developed into some kind of a form. Could be a product, it could be a service, it could be anything in that case, but you would have to do something in order to deliver what is it that you want to actually do. And then you would come out with an outcome. Now, so then this is a double diamond, which means, you keep going back and forth and back and forth. These blue lines, arrows, as you probably realize, this is also not a linear process. These stages, if it doesn't work, you would have to go back and do that iterative process once again. Each and every stage of discovering, defining, developing, and delivering all will be using method banks from various fields to explore, shape, and build what you're thinking. Yes, the design principles are very important. Number one, be people-centered, not technology-centered, like what P&G did. Secondly, the communication is very important, both visually and inclusively, especially like now, if we're doing remote work everywhere, it actually requires more sensitive communication for doing that good group work or teamwork, for sure. Yes, of course, comes collaboration and co-creation. As I've said, you're not working on this by yourself, you're working as a team. You're supposed to be contributing to your team, and your team members are supposed to be contributing to you. So then it's that co-creation and collaboration that you would definitely have to keep thinking about. Last but not least, the iteration process of iterating, going back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. It's not linear. You would have to keep going back. Yes, but to do this, you would definitely have to say that the engagement would be very important. Yes, of course. I mean, like if you're working in a team, if you're working in a group, I mean, like any kind of project, you would need to definitely need the engagement. And yes, leadership. Each and every step has a different role. Each and every one of you in a team does require lots different kinds of leaderships in various stages. So this is a double diamond process of design thinking. So there's various ways, but if you think about your project and how you would want to deliver your project, think in your context in particular and how these methodologies can suit you in order to design what you want to do.